When we see conversion rates not as high as we'd like them to see, I think chatbots are a great way to do so to help the customer out. It's also really good for automation and customer service, customer support, right? So on some sites we'll use it where we kind of answer frequently asked questions, right? Or we can use it to minimize the workload of the business by offering the ability to, have the customer engage directly with almost like a real person answering frequently asked questions.
Hi, this is Arnav from the DARS team. This is the second episode in our series where we interview bot creators from around the DARS platform about how they're using chatbots to solve problems for their customers. And today on the call, we have Preston. Preston, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, because I probably won't do justice to it.
I'm sure you will. Well, thank you so much, Arnav, for having me on. And it's actually an honor to be here because I've watched tons of your videos over time. And I love how you guys are doing.
Someone's watching them.
Somebody's watching. Yeah, you got me out there. So I definitely appreciate that, and I'm really happy to be on the call today and share some of the best practice and some of the things that we're doing. Who am I? My name is Preston Martelli. I run a digital marketing agency called Javalogix. We're Canadian, hence the .ca. So it's javalogix.ca, and we help customers. We serve customers globally. Our primary focus is really helping companies get a steady flow of leads through various digital marketing strategies. All right. So, we've grown and we try to think of ourselves as that, that full service solution when it comes to the lead generation. Whether business is, looking for web design or they need social media marketing, or even search engine marketing, still a viable choice for many businesses, especially local businesses. More heavily than anything right now, it's into automation. And that's where, the TARS platform has been absolutely irreplaceable, very, very helpful in terms of helping us to automate, how we do lead gen for clients.
Got it. And what's the sort of profile of the customers who are coming to you for these services, just so that we can get a sense of who you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, so we're most successful to date with customers who, generally have a good understanding of who the ideal customer is. All right, so people who want to market to the whole world, that unless you have an unlimited budget, that's not really a realistic place to start. Helping us kind of narrow down on who you're looking for, whether it's location, age, gender, or interest. That usually very helpful. They also, if they have a good understanding of their core offering, if they know their value proposition and they know, what are the hot points the customers are looking for, that's also very, very good. And, last but not least, we're learning this the hard way. We gotta get customers that can handle the influx, right? Because, once you turn on advertising and it's done properly, customers can see a large demand of customers coming in. And, sometimes we end up losing out because we send too many customers and they need to take a break just to get caught up.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah. I mean, we've been in that position before. And it's definitely something a lot of marketers don't think about when they get into the marketing game. But you actually shared an example with me right before this. So let me see if I can pull that up on my screen. Maybe you can talk us through.
Generally speaking, so our ideal customers that we notice for this kind of service is, people are looking for mid to high range average products, average ticket items. So I would say that the minimum point that a business would be looking for help from a digital marketing agency would be about $10,000 a month that they're looking to scale. That really makes it viable, and I'm definitely in the six figures. So just past that initial breaking point, growing. What you're looking at right now is a chatbot that we created for a contractor. That's actually a live bot, so the customer's going to get a notification.
Okay, that's good to know.
But this is cool. So this is what we did here was we created what you normally call a conversational landing page, where we were setting traffic to the initial website or the contact form, and it was doing okay. And we decided to test and see how it's working when we, put in this kind of a conversation for it. And it actually works out pretty good because what we saw was the customer's getting a lot more information. Sometimes the form is not filled out completely. But the cool thing about TARS is that it submits that data anyhow, right? So you get to see the amount of people engaging directly from your advertising campaigns.
Sure. I'm gonna not share my email over here so that I don't confuse your customer. But that's great to see. It's basically a pretty basic lead generation flow, and it's I guess replacing the form, as you mentioned, or supplementing.
Exactly. So it gives what this chatbot's designed to do is like right off the bat. So this is like a pretty quick service. So somebody's looking for a deck or a fence, and you don't need much browsing around and stuff like that. It's pretty much, you've seen the ad, you see images, you want to get in touch with them.
Right.
So right at the beginning of the chatbot, as you can see, we branch it off. Do they want a phone call or do they want to submit a form? Right. And I think you went through submit for an estimate. So that takes you down that path where they will actually go through and fill out the information so that the company can get back to them. If they went with the other one where there's a phone call, it would automatically just call the customer. It's going to redirect them on a mobile phone or on the computer to making a phone call.
Got it. Okay,
you got it?
That's interesting. It's a very basic flow, but it gets the job done. Yeah, we've seen the surf approach work really well with a lot of our other customers as well.
Yeah.
So what sorts of problems are you generally solving with a chatbot like that? Is it, I mean, we talk a lot about conversion rate, but speaking to a lot of bot makers, they seem to be solving a lot of different types of problems for their customers. So what is the main problem that your chatbot is solving? For example, the one which we just saw, I think you mentioned it was conversion rate.
Yeah, definitely conversion rate, adoption rate of it. I think when we see conversion rates not as high as we'd like them to see, I think chatbots are a great way to do so, to help the customer out. It's also really good for automation and customer service, customer support, right? So on some sites, we'll use it where we kind of answer frequently asked questions, right? Or we can use it to minimize the workload of the business by offering the ability to, have the customer engage directly with almost like a real person answering frequently asked questions.
Got it. And on a more general level, when these customers are coming to you, when these contractors, realtors, mortgage brokers are coming to you, what sorts of problems are they generally facing? Are they sort of looking to solve that problem, or is it a more general query?
We've noticed it's really lead generation, right? Businesses, no matter what tool or technique you use in digital marketing, the one goal they really need is leads and more qualified leads. And that's where chatbots are really helpful. A lot of people that we talk to, they understand the importance of digital marketing. They hear about it, they know about it, but they usually lack the know-how of how the technical know-how of how to execute it, or they just don't have the time. Right, and these are ideal customers because either they don't know or want to learn how to do it. So we'll gladly do it because that's what we love doing, and they don't have time to do it, and we don't mind investing that time. So they've tried ads. They heard Facebook ads is the way to go. So they get on Facebook and they see a button to boost. They drop $20 and they get nothing. Right?
Yeah.
Or they come back to us and they kind of not wanting that to happen again. And we use the right tools, the right tracking to make sure that we can give them the maximum return.
Got it. And I'm assuming that since a lot of these people don't have the time to invest in digital marketing, or aren't aware of how to do it themselves, they aren't familiar with chatbots, or do they know what chatbots are when they come to you and specifically?
Generally, people have had an experience with a chatbot, whether it's just on a website or they've seen it on Facebook Messenger. They usually have. They've seen it, but it's still fairly new to them, and they think, and for some reason, it's kind of like it's mysterious, right? So they think it might be very, very expensive or complicated to do, right? So I find myself having to present it to them and tell them and let them know that it's a possible option, a viable solution for them.
Got it. And if there are any pointers you have for other people in your situation, how do you sort of pitch it to them? How do you pitch it to the sort of uninformed or apprehensive customer?
When I say the word chatbot and somebody looks at me with that deer in headlights look, I usually try and dumb it back to see what level they are. So usually people are familiar with some of the common chat tools, like for example text messaging. Right. So most people are familiar with text messaging. So if I say text messaging, I see it light up. I'll say, okay, so kind of like WhatsApp as well, right? Or Facebook Messenger to
Right.
kind of show them, different platforms that people are currently using for chat. And usually they'll kind of gravitate to one of them and as a preferred way of communicating, right? So some people might like text messaging, some people might prefer WhatsApping, some people might prefer, Messenger. And then I say it's kind of like that, right? But imagine if I'm able to do that automated for you, answering frequently asked questions where you don't have to stay 24/7 and answer it, but the chatbot kind of gets the process started for you, right?
Right.
So I kind of explain it in that sense, and that usually kind of resonates with them, and they can say, I get where it's coming from.
Got it. That's actually interesting to hear from my perspective, because we use that a lot in our messaging as well. We talk about how it's similar to these messaging apps, and it's interesting to see that it's actually resonating with people on the ground, the end customers. Now moving on to the actual product a little bit. Are there any tools that you use to track, or any metrics in particular that you track once you've deployed the chatbot to see how well it's performing in the wild?
Yeah, definitely. So one of the cool things is that, TARS right off the bat, Hello TARS has an amazing reporting system in the background. I wish I had a screenshot here to show, but it has a really good reporting metrics in the background to show you how many unique visits you get to the bot. It shows the number of conversations, so that means people are actually engaging with it. And there's also a new feature where they can actually track goals, right? So you can set, if people get to a certain point in the bot, you've got a conversion goal. Right. So what's cool about that is that you can also if you install Google conversion tracking, you can actually track that back in Google as well. Right. So these two metrics are very, very good for it. The other thing that I find I use for tracking is I usually use domain deployment of the chatbot, which is a little bit more advanced. But the benefit to me using it is that I'm able to use the chatbot within a funnel, right? So you know how we build a funnel with multiple pages. I can actually use Google Tag Manager or tracking to see people come from a certain source to the chatbot, and then where they continue on in the process.
Got it. So it slots into your regular marketing automation and tracking tools. Google,
right. Exactly.
The Google Tag Manager of the world. And really quick, we're getting to the end of the conversation, but I know you mentioned before this call that you have used a bunch of different types of builders before, different chatbot builders before. So are there any features about the TARS builder in particular that you find useful, or that stands out to you as being useful for your customers?
Yeah, it's what I love about TARS. I started using TARS early when I started doing chatbots, and I deviated just testing out different platforms over time just to kind of see what it was, and I kind of came back. The biggest reason for that is I find it very versatile, right? The mere fact that you can do embeds, you can do emojis, you can do you can embed like HTML right within the chatbot. That just opens up the world of possibilities. And I think today there are very few things that a customer has asked me to do that I haven't been able to do within the TARS chatbot because of that ability. Right. You want to embed a video, no problem, we can do that. You want to, put a form, that can be done. Like, you want to redirect them to a different page. That's all these things are definitely good, which is things that I definitely love about using TARS.
Right. I mean, that's great to hear. I'll pass that along to the product team. So really quick, before we close out this this conversation, we have been actually talking about creating a series on how, or a series that you are creating on how people can build chatbots. So for the sort of marketer who's just getting into the space, do you want to talk about that a little bit to give you a sense of what sorts of content we're going to be putting out?
Yeah, for sure. So, being in chats, and I think I'm still pretty new because the industry is still fairly new. I've learned a heck of a lot, right? And I think the more education out there, the bigger, the faster this thing is going to grow. So I started putting together some ideas of what are the key concepts that I think people want to know. And right now I have a course that I'm planning to roll out. It's going to be 8 modules. And in these modules, we have about 3 or 4 short videos in between explaining each one of them. And it's going to cover everything, whether you're a beginner, that wants to start learning about what chatbots are, you're more advanced, or even if you're an agency, you're looking to try and get into this industry and see how you can get into it. That course is going to be really, really helpful for that. Early in the module, I'm going to talk about the who, what, when, where, why, and how about chatbots. So, what are they, who the ideal customers are, why you should use one, when you should apply it, and so forth. So I'll really go over the basics, go over the nuts and bolts, so we're all on the same page. And then in the later modules, I'll get a little bit more in detail, a little more advanced, where I teach you on, how do you monetize it? How do we monetize chatbots? Whether it's, using them for affiliate marketing, right? How can you use a chatbot within a sales funnel, right? Because sales funnels, we know, are great for conversion rate optimization. So I'll kind of teach a little bit about that. And I'll also loop you guys in a little bit more, because I'll have more time to talk to you guys. How do I pitch it? How do I pitch it to customers?
Right.
And what are some of the ways they can do it? Right now, I don't know if there's going to be a monetized course in the future or not, if I'm going to sell it or keep it. But what I will tell you is that when I turn it off, when I launch it should be within another week or two, it's going to be free, right? So you're going to be able to sign up for it. And I have a link I shared with you before, Arnav, that we can, I guess we can put in the video description below.
We'll either put it in the top right or in the description below.
So perfect. And then what we'll do is you can go in there and you can sign up for it. It's a chatbot. So you get to see my handiwork in full effect. And then what we'll do is you can go in and sign up. And once the course is released, I'll send out a notification letting you know that you can check it out, give me some feedback, what I should change, what I should do differently, and then we'll go from there.
Yep. This is the chatbot. I actually opened up the link. This is the chatbot. If you guys go to this link, which we'll leave somewhere around this video, you should be able to sign up for that training. And I highly recommend that if you're interested in chatbots, you do check out this training, because we put out a lot of content explaining how you can use chatbots in marketing at DARS. But at the end of the day, it's someone like Preston who's actually interacting with the end customers and actually using the bots on the ground. So I highly recommend that if you're interested in using chatbots for your clients or for your own marketing stack, do check out Preston's course. Again, we'll leave a link to it somewhere around this video. And with that, I think we're done. Thanks for talking to me today, Preston. It was really informative. It's always great to hear from people using the builder to generate value.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right.